I'm Jonathan Reynolds. I'm the MP for Stalybridge and Hyde, and I'm one of the vice chairs of the all-party parliamentary group on autism here in Parliament. The National Autistic Society recently found that 99.5% of us in the UK have heard about autism, yet only 16% of autistic people and their families feel the public has a meaningful understanding of autism. That gap between awareness and understanding is the reason I've decided to speak very openly about my personal experiences of autism for the first time today. I hope that by sharing my story, it will be one small contribution towards increasing the depth of public understanding about this very much misunderstood condition. I'm extremely blessed to be the father of 4 beautiful children. My eldest child, Jack, was born when I was a new graduate in my early 20s. I remember driving home from hospital the day after his birth, hearing Elton John's Circle of Life play on the radio and feeling, as I think all new parents do, tremendous excitement, but also a healthy dose of nervousness that life would never be the same again. Jack's babyhood had its challenges, as most do, and sadly his mother and I separated just not long after his first birthday. But first words and first steps arrived right on cue, and he began to chatter and to sing pitch perfectly. When both potty training and graduating from a cot to a big boy's bed went more or less without a hitch, I began to feel I could do this dad thing after all, and it was all going to be all right. Now, being young parents, and certainly the first of our peer group to have children by several years, I suppose we missed the early signs that something wasn't quite right. Health visitors confirmed Jack was hitting his developmental milestones okay. Nursery occasionally hinted at difficult behaviour, but no hint at anything atypical was given. When we changed his nursery to a nearer one and he screamed daily for his old one, we just put those temper tantrums and the fixation with routine down to the impact of parental separation and adjusting to living in 2 different homes. I thought his obsession with collecting red tractors was not just normal for a little boy, but also great fun. I thought his interest in hunting out teaspoons, even stealing them from other family members' cutlery drawers, was in my eyes the work of a cheeky monkey rather than anything more deeply rooted. His first day at school came round, and as it does, in the blink of an eye, and I was incredibly proud of my still tiny little boy in his bright blue uniform, ready to take on the world. Except in that first term of his reception year, it became clear that Jack was far from ready for formal learning. He struggled to follow instructions in his class. His behaviour at home became unpredictable and sometimes intense. He somehow seemed to lose his previous ability to grip a pencil properly, making forming letters an uphill struggle. We put him down for a weekly football club after school, and like other proud mums and dads, I went along to watch. It was during those football club sessions that it slowly dawned on me how tremendously advanced the other children were, and how compliant they were with the coach's instructions and how the game worked. They all actively engaged with each other, and they interacted with each other in a way that just wasn't capable and possible for Jack. Jack was fixated on taking off the high visibility tabard that everyone was required to wear. He didn't seem to process the instructions that were hollered across a wet and windy playground. He didn't seem to mind at all that his classmates wanted to dribble and pass the ball more readily than he did. In fact, he didn't really notice what they were doing at all. And when I would pull him up on his failure to participate properly, he would at first become anxious and then defiant and occasionally violent. And it didn't take too many football sessions to come to accept that something about Jack was very different. And nonetheless, when his class teacher first mentioned the A word to us, autism, I felt as if I'd been rooted on the spot. Defiance and denial and fear were mixed with some recognition and relief. Had we caused this? Well, internet searches reassured us that we hadn't. Would it pass with time? Well, no matter how many websites I searched in a sea of confusing and often quite contradictory information, which mercifully has now improved a great deal, the term that every source appeared to agree on was lifelong. And the word stung. I believe deeply in the positivity, being positive about disability. But nonetheless, I couldn't stop myself asking, why my little boy? And in the following weeks and months, the parental warrior mode takes over, and we fought first for diagnosis and then for statementing. If Jack had additional needs, we wanted to ensure that they were met. And as he got older and we better understood his condition and the triggers that might exacerbate his anxiety, Jack's behaviour improved a lot at home. We learnt that exercise, fresh air and adrenaline helped stimulate him and stabilise his moods, and he loved swinging and trampolining, sometimes for hours at a time. However, at school the differences between Jack and his peers became increasingly stark. Despite the efforts of a wonderful, loving teaching assistant, Mrs. Butler, who thanks to his statement moved with him from class to class, Jack's progress in learning to read and write and count was unavoidably very, very slow. I remember one parents' evening in which other mums and dads were perusing their children's creative writing about Florence Nightingale, whilst we were still talking about mark making and letter formation. And the realisation that autism in Jack's instance, as with 2/3 of cases, was combined with broader learning difficulties, was a very gradual and very emotionally challenging one. Ambitions for my boy shifted, and school year by school year success became focused more on practical, self-help goals like learning to do his own zip-up. And part of me hungered for us to aim higher. What sort of life would he have if he couldn't learn to read? And more saddening than this lack of progress was his visible frustration with most teaching methods and anxiety about his busy, noisy learning environment. His homeschool diary contained a daily catalogue of difficult behaviours which sometimes interrupted the learning of his whole class. By year 2, he was learning almost exclusively on a desk in the corridor outside his class. It became clear that the next battle needed to be to get him a place in a special educational needs school. Now, Jack needed a specialist teaching environment, calmer sensory environment, smaller class sizes, timetables that reflected his attention span, and activities and rewards that tapped into his interests. It took until year 5 before he gained a place at a local SEN school. And little breakthroughs give us tremendous pride and encouragement with Jack. The first time he rearranged magnetic letters on the fridge to form a word. The first time he was able to recite a line welcoming people to his school play. The times he showed empathy rather than laughter or ambivalence when his younger siblings hurt themselves. His idiosyncrasies are often wonderful. There's a particular motorway bridge we pass regularly on the M60, which he always starts singing Wonderwall by Oasis pitch perfectly when we pass it, including the instrumental sections as well. He can recite the whole soundtrack to Mamma Mia, start to finish. He knows what colour car every adult he's ever met drives, and whether their windscreen wipers go from side to side or round a semicircle. And his memory is extraordinary. He has, however, no sense of time that is linear. He will recount detailed anecdotes as if they were yesterday, before you realise they actually took place maybe 8 years beforehand. His vocabulary has widened, but his language is still not typically conversational. He now orders food in restaurants beautifully, always politely requesting 5 straws and ice in his drink, usually adding "thank you, honey darling" to waitressing staff, whether they're male or female, which never fails to raise a smile. We are conscious that we are extremely blessed that he has verbal communication skills at all, and that unlike half of all families with an autistic member, we do feel we can go out to parks, to meals and to outings. There are instances of staring, at times when he inadvertently uses the ladies' toilet rather than the male because he cannot process the signs, and frequently occasions when activities that would suit the rest of our now large family would not work for Jack. And we avoid big crowds, we avoid surprises, we don't do bonfire night, or we do it indoors with earplugs. Jack is now 13 and we are juggling the complexities of autism and puberty. Having the emerging body of an adult, the development levels of a younger child, and little sense of social norms has already had its hiccups. Our drive to keep Jack safe and happy is ferocious, but our worries about what provision will be available for him when he leaves school and goes into adulthood are heightening. Living with autism in my family has changed my life. There is the irrational guilt that we did not spot it sooner. There is the acute sadness that life will throw daily challenges at my boy. There is the weariness of repeatedly explaining how he's getting on, often with little progress to share. There is the paranoia of forensically examining our younger children for signs that they too might be affected. Does our baby make enough eye contact? Can the toddler process instructions? And there is the weighty responsibility of making each meal, each outing, each bedtime as stress-free as possible, whilst also juggling the other needs of a busy family. For Jack and for the other 700,000 people on the autistic spectrum, my desire to make the UK a place where attitudes, spaces and services are more autism friendly is unyielding. Thankfully, examples of best practice are now emerging. Take Manchester Airport Group. They fast-track families with autistic children through the stressful environment of airport security, and they've created videos and booklets which prepare people for what to expect from their airport experience. Their thoughtfulness is literally helping to open up access to the wider world for the autistic population of Greater Manchester and beyond. I hope my home city region of Greater Manchester is already performing well against the national NHS strategy for autism. But with the advent of NHS devolution in Manchester and the opportunities this affords us to break down barriers between health provision, social services and education and skills strategies, my ambition is for Greater Manchester to become the first autism-friendly city in the UK. I want to see all our public services be made autism accessible. I want to see all our public servants empowered as autism champions. I want to see an ambitious strategy for educational attainment and employability. I want to see our businesses leading the way to make our shops and services and our transport system easier to navigate. And I want Greater Manchester to become a beacon of that best practice for autism across the world. Thank you for watching this, and I hope you will support me in my ambition to make the UK more autism friendly. I would love to hear your stories too. Together we can turn awareness into meaningful understanding and make life easier and fuller for everyone with the autism spectrum condition. Thank you.